All right, welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This is Daybreak. In case you're just joining us, we are going to be getting straight into our conversation this morning as we discuss the women agenda, the gains, the gaps, and how to bridge them going forward. And of course, this morning, we're having a panel of 3, expecting one more. And already in studio, we have Caroline Lagat. Caroline is a programs officer at Equality Now, as a special focus on addressing harmful practices, which include female genital mutilation and child marriage in Africa. And of course, she is an advocate of the High Court in Kenya. And I can go on and on about who she is, but thank you for creating time for us once again. And we have Mheshimiwa Catherine Omanyo. Mheshimiwa Omanyo is the Busia County Woman Representative. It has been quite a journey, Mheshimiwa. Let me start with you. Sitting at the 13th Parliament for you has been a journey, just venturing into politics and trying your best to make your dream of representing the voice of women and girls true. Tell us a bit about how the experience has been so far.
I keep saying it has been like trying to climb a hyena and still convincing yourself that it can't bite. When I started, I was like her age and size. I'm looking at her and I'm so encouraged that she's aware of some things that I didn't know at that time. Any woman in the world, not just in Kenya, who plunges herself, I'm using the word plunge because going into politics has been a process of pain. Many people look at any woman who goes into politics, 1, as a prostitute, 2, as stubborn, headstrong, unmanageable, and to make it worse, not wife material. So since when I was 26, the first time I ran, I had completed campus, I was idle, I was tamarking, but I had a lot to bring to the table. Nobody saw that. Many times, if you are a cook, you will have your spices and come up with a detailed way of how you are going to prepare the meal. And I kept on saying, many women are on the menu when you're going to choose what you want to eat. But I want more women to be among the people coming up with the menu. Mm-hmm. So trying to put sense into many people was not easy, especially where I chose to vie. Home, in the village, remote, rural, that is the right word. When I was single and I was asked, but you are not even married. If you have not taken care of anybody, how can you take care of us? 2, you are still young. Some people still see somebody who's above 23 as young. And that is what has derailed Africa. And then all the branding, the names came up that were not really good, especially for me as a woman. But I didn't look at myself as a woman when I started. I looked myself as a leader. And that is where every younger person who comes into politics, I tell them, don't go to seek for sympathy. There is no sympathy in politics. Stand as a leader. If you can cry, don't do it in front of people, but expect more abuses than any praises. Okay. So it has been quite a journey, but I love it because the journey has strengthened me. Okay. So everybody who wants to be a leader anywhere must look into the process and be ready to be boiled in the morning for breakfast and fried for lunch and maybe smoked for dinner.
You're actually, you know, for a young girl who's here, could be listening to you this morning and you're preparing her for that tough contest the political terrain from what you're describing is not easy, especially if you're a woman, considering the biases that still exist in our society. Before we get into the nitty-gritties of the conversation, let me also rope you in, Caroline. Equality Now, quite an outstanding name for an institution. I want to understand from your perspective when you're talking about equality, having listened to what Mheshimiwa Caroline has just talked about, what exactly are we looking at? A society that considers equality from your perspective, and how practical is it for us to get to that point as a country?
Thank you very much. So maybe I can just do a small introduction of our organization. We are called Equality Now. It's an international women's rights organization. And we do focus on particular focus areas, sexual violence, sexual exploitation, harmful practices such as FGM and child marriage, and finally we push for legal equality. So any barriers in law, we do advocacy with the governments and also civil society organizations to make sure that we remove such barriers. So on to equality, is it possible? Of course it's possible, but there needs to be investment. So what we do is we look at the barriers, like these thematic areas that I've mentioned are some of the barriers that hinder equality. It's not a comprehensive list, but these are some of the focus areas that we've chosen to focus on. So we try to reduce and eventually eliminate, because we believe that this is how we will achieve equality for women. For example, on matters of female genital mutilation, a girl, that prevents a girl to access a number of rights. In certain cases, it can cause loss of life. Later on, it leads to, it affects their access to education, access to health. So when we are putting all these rights together and the rights that are being violated, it basically prevents them from participating or being a whole being, and being part of the society as a full human. I'm not saying they are not human, but it prevents them from enjoying the rights that everyone else does, and a woman who's not been cut, and also a man. So we are trying to eliminate this barrier so that we can ensure that young girls can also enjoy the same rights as boys. Even sexual violence. Sexual violence does have physical impact on women, but also psychological. So how can we eliminate and prevent sexual violence for future women and girls so that they can be able to enjoy life as men can? So that's what we are talking about in equality. Yes.
All right.
Honorable Catherine, then I come to you because you have underscored the cultural norms that are there, the hurdles on your way, the others of many. But we gave ourselves a constitution which is, in many aspects, termed as one of the most elaborate, expressive, transparent, and engaging because it's people-centered. And 12 years since its promulgation, yes, there is the gender debate, but women, to be specific, are significantly disadvantaged. Why do you think so from the cultural perspective before we cascade down to the political aspect of it?
It is how the people look at a girl. For example, many parents up to date, when they buy presents for their children, you have a boy and a girl. A girl gets a doll and a boy gets a car. So the boy will be going out the compound playing with the toy, meaning daddy is telling this boy that you will drive a car, you will be a mechanic, you'll be strong, dealing with engines, preparing this young man, because some of them go to dismantle and look inside. But the girl is being told your work will be to take care of the babies, the doll. So it starts there. How do we look at a woman as parents? So there are words also that are used, even in the Constitution, the 2010 one. Progressive. Why should it be progressive? We are not a cost. Women are not a cost in the nation. So why use the word that delay our rights? but the traditional ways have delayed us, and we know very well where we belonged. Our grandmothers were very submissive. I'm not saying that women should be not respectful, but the way it has been done or played around, it just makes a woman's journey with more pedals. So the 2010 Constitution was good, yes. But the word progressive is what I want to repeal and top up with a word that puts it the way the organization says it,
yes.
Now.
Which is?
Like now, why shouldn't it be now? Why not even 50-50? Why 2/3? And the more I see that they make it harder for a woman, the more I see women rising. Before they know it, they will realize that the 2/3 gender rule was not just for a woman. It was for all of us. Because now I'm hearing boy child, because the girls are rising. Today you are seeing physics. If people performed, the girls are there. They're also performing just like a boy. So the field should be levelized in a manner that a woman can also compete fairly with a man, starting from even nursery. Not saying the boys first or do what. Sometimes they say women first, but they don't really mean it. That is Western culture. There are words that are used, umama, when somebody is talking. Where has this come from? Which umama? Meaning our work is to sit, gossip, or something like that. So the Constitution, I want to mark several words that were used, progressive.
Okay.
It is not good. It is delaying us. 2, we are not a baggage. And when people say to achieve 2/3 gender rule, the nation will lose another 238 million, that is putting in people's mind or poisoning people not to accept. Why give me a present, for example, a goat, but you still hold on the rope? That means it's not yet fully mine. So our rights should be treated just like anybody's right as women, and protect it when coming up with a law by not using some words that will take longer. 12 years from 2010. We are still talking of 2/3 gender rule.
Okay.
We should be talking of 50-50.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Catherine, before Saf comes in and seeks the account of, your colleague here on the broadcast, we'll talk about the 2 times that the Duale bill came before the floor of Parliament and the subsequent lack of quorum by MPs in Parliament, despite the pressure from the political party leadership. But you have mentioned the words progressive, for example. Do you then mean that what's provided for at the moment is not enough?
Yes, it's not enough because it's treated like a privilege. It's not a privilege. It's a right. And also taken like a baggage. It's not a baggage. Women bring so much on the table than what they are thinking or saying. So I think those who don't come to pass that bill need to be taken somewhere so they can be educated, because we can be assuming that people are educated, but they are not knowledgeable. I'm a teacher. Some students just sit in class, and if you give homework, that's when you'll realize as a teacher that this was not with you. So there are many people who just fear a woman to be in power. And a few who have been in power, we can see how they have changed how they do things in the office. So if we are bringing something on the table, we are not a threat, but we are treated as a threat. I could hear even when I was campaigning somebody saying, "Hi, this one, if given an opportunity, she can be a governor." What is wrong with that? You know?
Okay, we already have 7 women governors, and that's a democracy. It's the people who decide on who they accord power. Thank
this
you.
one, if given an opportunity, she can be a governor. Interesting. But then, did we then bite more than we can chew, Caroline? Because it seems like this 2/3 gender rule, it is enshrined in the Constitution. And in fact, if I remember correctly, there's been calls for the dissolution of Parliament, saying that it is unconstitutional by the virtue that it has not observed the 2/3 gender rule. Close to 12 years since the 2010 Constitution was promulgated, which means it is already a piece of law that should be observed. Did we bite more than we can chew? Did we ask for more than we can implement as a country when we allowed that piece of legislation to be in existence? What do you think?
I mean, the first thing I would ask is, who is we? Maybe the legislators asked for more than they can chew, but we know what we wanted. And to be quite frank, if I could give an example, the expressway that was built, it was built come rain, come sunshine. By all means, it was completed. So I cannot say that we bit more than we can chew. It's just that we are not investing in ensuring that we implement it. We are not the government is not working hard enough to implement the 2/3 gender rule, because there's a lot that can be done. Are they ensuring that women leaders are getting funding, protecting them from harassment when they're campaigning? I mean, Honorable here will tell you what she has gone through. It wasn't easy. So the journey itself sometimes discourages women from running for elected roles. And then when you want to run for an elected role as that is besides the women's rep, you're told, but you women have the women's rep. Why do you want to become an MP? Why do you want to become this other one? So there's a lot of challenges that women are facing. Aspiring women leaders are facing, that the government is not stepping in to try to reduce the hindrances and the barriers. So there's a lot that should be done that is not being done. And most importantly, have they met these women leaders to see, aspiring women leaders to see how they can support them? It should be something that an initiative is taken. You're not just responding to challenges that are arising, but you're taking an initiative to understand what is the problem. Why is the 2/3 gender rule not being implemented? How can we ensure that maybe the next election, this can be implemented and it can be realized? So we did not bite more than we can chew. It's just that we are not taking the initiative to ensure that it's implemented, and by we, I mean our government. It should be more proactive.
Yeah, I just want to top on what she has said. There are people who represent people, but they don't really represent them. Because you can have a bunch of women and men maybe sitting on a boardroom talking about women issues, but they are clueless. So if you have such people representing 2/3 gender rule, it will go nowhere. The passion is lacking. Because I now mingle and talk to so many people in that parliament. Then I realize there's no passion. So it is wrong to have wrong people representing anybody, be it
so what have you read so
PLD.
far? What is the mood? What is it that you're finding out now that you have had an opportunity to get there?
Yeah, I found out that the 2/3 gender rule was in the wrong hands. There are people who mean well, but majority, they have no clue of exactly what a country wants from the women. And already they know that if we include more women in every sphere of leadership, it's also going to make the country's leadership or management easier, because we multitask, we think ahead, we carry a future. And where I sit, I just looked at how one of my colleague was handling that issue and dismissing it. Then I realized, and then they used to sit on a table discussing 2/3 gender rule and saying, no, women should just go and fight. We have seen a few of them realizing, wanataka everything. I said, it is not that way. One, why we came up with 2/3 gender rule is because the ground was not fair for any woman. Violence, which woman goes into that? Nobody. Most of them would pull down or step down. And also resources. We couldn't own land or even say you go to the bank, they want you, the husband, to sign first or bring the title deed, but the title deed does not have your name. So it has been a process. It's not that women just want to be given anything.
Okay.
In fact, from 2007, I have been going for this seat minus Harambes. I just walk. My friends, boda people give me a ride. I didn't have a car. So the passion in any person, man or a woman, who wants to do something for the people should be looked into, the vision, not the skirt she is wearing.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable. When we get back from the break here on Daybreak, it's important you mentioned the ownership of land. Only 1% of women in the country own land. This is despite making up 80% of farm laborers across the country. But there has also been a gradual increase in terms of the number of women who have been elected in the previous elections of 2013 and 17, notwithstanding the affirmative actions that the government did provide for, and the women positions, therefore, of the 47 MPs, women MPs who represent the respective seats in the National Assembly, and those elected as governors and also senators. As we continue with the discussion here on Daybreak, the hashtag on Twitter is Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422. When we get back from the break, the discussion continues here on the broadcast. Stay tuned.